So I've been going through the Bodhisattva vows for a period of time. There's 3 levels of ethical restraints in Tibetan Buddhism. The first level is when you take refuge and you adopt either the 5 lay precepts or one of the monastic ordinations, and that's called the level of the Vinaya. The second is the Bodhisattva ethical restraints, which is the ones here, and then the final is the tantric ethical restraints. So the Pratimoksha or Vinaya ones are principally regulating the actions of body and speech. So those are the easiest to keep. Yeah, although to keep them you also have to work with your mind, but to actually transgress them there has to be a physical or verbal action. Whereas the Bodhisattva vows deal also with the mind, so they're much harder to keep because they really so much depend on your motivation, and they're particularly geared towards helping us eliminate the self-centered thought. And then the tantric ethical restraints are similar in, that they can be broken, they can be transgressed mentally, but they help us to eliminate impure view and dualistic view. But right now we're working on the Bodhisattva ethical restraints, and there's 18 root ones and 46 auxiliary ones. And we are currently on number 43 of the auxiliary ones. So that we're coming in at the end, okay? So this particular set of auxiliary precepts that we're going through now have to do with, let's see, it's called that's not the full title here. The last 12 ones. Okay, so these are called the 12 misdeeds contrary to the ethical conduct of helping others. So there's 3 kinds of ethical conduct: 1 of restraining from negativities, 2 of creating virtue, and then 3 of benefiting others. So these are, ethical precepts that help us to make sure that when we have the opportunity to benefit others, we do benefit them, okay, and that we overcome our self-centered attitude and really exert some effort to be of benefit. Okay, so we started talking last time about number 43, which is it has to do with behaving wrongly with regard to living in harmony. And so the particular precept 43 says, not adjusting to others' thinking, or here in this book, not acting in accordance with the wishes of others, if doing so does not bring harm to oneself or others. So here it doesn't just mean any other person, okay? I mean, in general, we want to act in accord with others' wishes if it doesn't bring harm and if it doesn't distract ourselves or other people from Dharma practice. But here it's in the explanation from Dakpa Rinpoche, which he takes from Lama Tsongkhapa, it's really explaining it in terms of our spiritual companions, okay? Because they're the most important people because they're also trying to live in ethical conduct. Yeah, whereas people who don't know anything about the Dharma, we try and live in harmony with them, but very often it's difficult because, they want to go out to the movies and we don't. And if we just, go along with other people's ideas, we could spend our whole life at the movies and, the sports stadium and the shopping center and glued to the internet and things like that. So when it talks about, really cooperating with others, it's talking about it in a particular sense. It's not talking about it in the sense that we just do whatever anybody wants, because, like I said, we could waste our whole life doing that and, not create much virtue. Okay, so here the description says, this secondary misdeed consists of not harmonizing our behavior with that of our companions in the Dharma. Okay? So, in a community, it would be the other people living in the community, at a Dharma center with your other companions in the Dharma. When it is inspired by anger or animosity, it's associated with afflictions. When sloth, laziness, or carelessness motivated, it's called not associated with afflictions, even though it still is, because laziness is an affliction. Okay? So from the angle of the basis, there's no misdeed when we're ill and therefore we're incapable of acting. So if we don't, adjust our ways to other people's thinking because we're ill, or go along with what's happening in the community because we're ill, there's no transgression. Then there's some remaining exceptions out of necessity. Okay? But before we get into these exceptions, I'd like to hear some examples from you. Especially people who've been living in community. What are examples of not adjusting to others' thinking and not harmonizing your behavior with that of your Dharma companions? So maybe somebody else here has had that problem at one time or another and wants to give some personal example of it. Although maybe none of you have ever had any resistance to harmonizing your behavior. Okay? Do we have any brave ones? Yes.
I'm working on it, but I'm extremely attached to my ideas. So even if a majority of the community agrees in doing something a certain way, I really want to have the last word, and I really want to state my opinion very clearly, and sometimes rather ferociously, and kind of lock my knees and be very stubborn and obstinate about it. So, I just want to be right. Yeah, so that's a big one for me.
Yeah. Okay, so sometimes the whole community may be going in one direction or want to do something, and you disagree, and you want to be right and have the last word and state your case and try and convince everybody else.
And then since I'm not, it goes the way of the community, then I just want them to remember for the next few days.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Since the community eventually is going to, will do things the way of the community, then you want to make sure that everybody knows you're unhappy.
Yes.
And that if what the community decides doesn't work, there is the "I told you so" lurking in the background. Next time you should listen to me.
Smoke.
Okay. How about other people? Yeah.
So sometimes I'm extremely resistant to Venerable Simpe's ideas, but she wins. Several people in the community may disagree. So I will go along, but not without doing it, going, why are we doing this? We're doing this because Simpe wanted us through. So it's always internal.
Okay.
And sometimes you just don't, because I don't feel like it.
Okay, so sometimes she does, her way does prevail, but then you make sure that she knows that you're not happy with it.
No, I don't even do that. It's my own internal process. It's my own internal rebellion. When, in fact, going along doesn't harm anybody or anything.
Okay, so you don't make it known outside?
She didn't know.
You don't know?
No, she doesn't tell me.
Oh. But inside she's having a rebellion. And sometimes she finds ways to not quite do what the whole thing. Yeah? So, yeah, we talked about this before, about how when we have resistance, we do part of what's happening, but we find a way to get out of doing all of it. Yeah, just so that we stake our claim, that I don't like this. I'm an individual. Yeah. Other people.
I have
getting an idea of wanting to go do something and just, planning it all in my mind and just, not even thinking about the effect it would have on the community. I'm going down the hill and going to this place and that place and do this and that.
Mm-hmm.
Not even thinking.
Okay, so planning something in your mind about what you're going to do and not thinking about the effect it's going to have on the community. Like, I'm going to go and take my holiday at this time. Doesn't matter what's going on with the community. Yeah, it doesn't matter how many other people are gone or, that my work will fall to other people. I want to go.
I think I'm getting over this. I'm not sure. I used to really have a strong aversion to the word swarm because I'd be doing something and then there would be this announcement that we're going to swarm. Swarm means we all get together to do something. And so you drop what you're doing and you run to the activity, and that would drive me nuts.
Okay.
I just got to really hate the word, but there's no hiding here. So I came to see that it wasn't necessarily a suffering experience. That I could eventually sort of continue doing whatever we were doing, get over my fit. And then it was, I won't say joyous in my mind, but I would just sort of realize that it needed to be done, and it was good that we all chipped in and did it.
Yeah. So there's certain times, like when the basement floods, or when the meditation hall is getting put back together again, where we all, quote, quote, swarm, which means we all come together and do, work together. And she's saying that she didn't like that, especially, you're in the middle of doing something, you have your day all arranged, and then it's like, okay, drop what you're doing, the basement's flooding, come on, we need your help, or we're moving beds and we need everybody to help. And so really having some resistance to doing that. But what you say is that you're working with it and seeing that actually going along and doing it really doesn't hurt anybody, including yourself. Yeah, and that it's really a question of attitude. Yeah, that there is a way to, make the mind happy doing that.
I'm always in that mode, then I go. Bravo. I don't know how to explain it, but I just, what it is in my mind, I bitch in my mind. Like it's like,
So like what she was saying, just constant complaining in your mind.
why did it unfold that like that? Why did it get there?
Again, they're not listening to me, they're doing these stupid things. Yeah. And spending a lot of mental energy on it.
Because my energy is so negative, well, that pushes people away. That's how it becomes inharmonious.
Yeah.
Like nobody wants to.
Yeah. So even though you don't say anything,
No.
the energy's there. Yeah.
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 A walking flame.
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 I'll fire.
How about you?
I guess I was thinking about resistance, about sometimes when we have all these scheduled things,
Mm-hmm.
and especially when they go into study time. I just kind of, I think what I actually do is I come in kind of like cold,
Mm.
and I have to kind of warm up to the activity. But then I kind of just feel resistant inside, so I
Yeah.
just kind of like, here I am.
Okay. So in other words, when you feel the schedule's a little bit too full, especially when it's going into your study time, then you'll go in, but you're like an ice cube.
You should hang around.
Right.
Go up.
Yeah.
I guess what I think of is just with when I was looking for times when resistance comes up in my mind.
Yeah.
When it comes up kind of consistently.
Right.
It seems like that's not very harmonious.
Yeah. Yeah. When the mind's resistant.
I think that comes up with our chanting.
Oh, in what way? Like you don't want to harmonize with whoever's leading?
When I hear how we talk about the problems that we have with our chanting, I think sometimes we have difficulty being in harmony. But I don't know, it's like it's intentional though. It's more like we just don't have always the skill set.
Mm-hmm. But when we're chanting, being in harmony means that you have to listen to the other people. And I remember when I was at City of 10,000 Buddhas, one of the senior nuns there commented to me that you can really tell a lot about what's going on with somebody by how they're chanting. Yeah. And so you can tell if, people's listening to somebody or not, if they're whispering, if they're screaming, if, what's going on. And you?
Well, I have about 100 thoughts as everyone's been speaking, but one of them is that I like to swarm, but then I want everyone to do it the way I want them to do it, and they do it so weird. So then I get very unhappy during the swarm.
Okay, so you're not adverse to the swarm, to the idea of people working together, but then you don't like the way that they're doing it because, yeah, you want to be the boss, and she's the boss instead.
She's the boss, I disappear.
Oh, okay, so you just disappear.
I find something I do.
You have a headache.
I have to cook something or anything else really has to be answered right now.
Right now, yes. Yes, so you just disappear and don't harmonize in that way. Okay. Terry?
I am very averse to standing in line waiting for food. I spent 20 years in the Navy and spent a lot of time standing in line waiting for food. I've done it enough in my life. I usually find a way out of it.
So how do you find a way out of standing in line?
She leaves.
Yeah.
I leave.
Okay, so you leave and go to the library, do something else until you can go get your food. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you haven't been here long enough. What?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. We'll exempt you this time. Donnie?
Maybe something when a nun is telling me what's not proper. Lately there was one example. One nun told me, "Oh, I have to take off my jacket while we have lunch," and I have done it since 8 months. I have had my jacket on, and nobody told me. And then this woman told me, and then I had a short moment of resistance, and because I thought, "Oh, I'm freezing too much," and but I can't over it. So something like this, if something is unexpected, and then.
Okay, so somebody gives you an unexpected instruction.
Yeah.
Yeah, then there's some resistance in not wanting to do it. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else want to volunteer, even though I haven't called on you? Yeah.
I guess I could go up with one. I think Venerable Yeshe made the pasta the other day that I was really attached to, especially putting lots of cheese on it. And it came out the next day, and I asked Sopa, "Hey, could I get some cheese to put on it?" Because it wasn't out on the table this time. I'm really attached to this cheese, and she said, "No, we don't get it like other things out. I was just eating this pasta. I really want this cheese. I really want this cheese." I love like the Abbey life, and this happened, and I'm like,
I'm out of here.
I want to be able to eat cheese when I want cheese. That was the whole rebellion.
Yeah.
And yes, essentially. And then after some time, I realized that the feta cheese would have brought maybe 5 minutes of happiness, and Sopa's helping my mind to train for a longer lasting happiness. So I got over that one.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. But you see how, the mind reacts to so many things. Yeah. Anybody else? Oh, well, you can't think of something. We'll make sure you do next time.
It always results in wanting to run down the road.
Yeah.
Like the mind goes, I'm out of here. And then I'm looking at how silly the thing is. It's like the cheese example.
Yeah.
I can't have cheese when I want. I'm out of here. And I'll be like that for like 5 minutes. And it's like, what? You're going to give up the Dharma for some cheese?
Yeah.
Because, you don't like how simply doing something. I mean, come on,
Yeah.
It's so strange.
Yeah.
It's very strong.
Right.
So I'm
Right. Yeah, because we have this mind that says, I want, and it's got to be this way. Yeah, my way. And I'm not hearing any other discussion about it. Yeah, my way or the highway. Yeah. And so we push and push and push, or we do this thing if we pretend to cooperate and we disappear. Or we pretend to cooperate and we sabotage. Yeah.
Can you give an example of that?
What would be an example?
I have one.
Okay.
I remember when I was getting a lot of requests to do stuff on the table saw and on all in the wood shop.
Mm-hmm.
And it was coming so fast, and I was like, this is dangerous, this is unsafe, I don't want to do this, this is, like I'm getting all this stuff in my face. And so I was cutting things, and I'm going, oh, you want it fast? And then all of the lines are wobbling. I know how to do it well. I've done it for a long time, but I was like, you want it fast?
Oh, we have Venerable Yeshe would say, you're fired. That's a good example.
Yeah. It is. It's a very good example. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so not harmonizing our behavior with our Dharma companions. So, here you can see exactly why community life is so valuable for training the mind. Because all these things come up, And you watch your mind just like have a temper tantrum. Yeah.
And you?
Oh, me! No, I give my sagest advice, and then the community doesn't listen to me, and I go, okay, I'll go along with what the community wants. Yeah. And then it never turns out as good as if they had followed my way. And I make sure they understand that. But it's true, isn't it? My way's usually right.
Is it a joke or is it?
I'll let you decide.
I guess I'll find out.
It's true.
Yeah. Okay. So here are some exceptions for when you don't have to harmonize your behavior with that of your Dharma companions. So first is what the people want us to do will not be good for them and could very well harm them. So if somebody's asking us to do something dangerous, something that could be harmful to them and to somebody else, then it's fine not to cooperate. If it could harm us, then again, fine not to cooperate. What they want may do them good, but would not suit a large group of people. When it would go against the wishes of the majority, we should abstain from it to prevent hostile reactions. Okay, so if what somebody wants to do is okay, but it would evoke a lot of hostility in the community, then, not to go along with it is okay for the sake of harmony in the greater community. Yeah, like the times in meetings when we get stuck on, discussing some tiny detail for like 5 or 10 minutes, Okay. If it's to respect monastic rules, again, it's okay. If it's to subdue people who are not Buddhists and help them learn the Buddhist way, it's okay. Or if it will help to draw other people away from wrongdoing and encourage them to lead better lives. So if not cooperating with the group would actually help other people, then again we should, it's okay not to cooperate. Can you think of an example of any of those?
Maybe just if we were with the group and a lot of the group were going to go into a bar and get a drink, and you said, I'm not, and then maybe someone else would go with you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so sometimes, although a group may be doing something, well, that, it's something that could harm them, that could harm you, so you could refuse to go into a bar. But sometimes, I get the feeling sometimes that at parties, many people drink because they think everybody else thinks they should drink. Yeah, and that sometimes just saying I'm not going to is kind of a relief for everybody else. Yeah. Okay. Then, because we've been talking about, not helping others. So here is another category of behaving badly in relation to those who have good qualities. And so the precept is not praising good qualities, number 44, or not praising those with good qualities. So the explanation, when people possess good qualities, either extensive knowledge or spiritual attainments such as deep faith, and out of animosity, we do not praise them. It is a misdeed associated with afflictions. When we neglect to extol their good qualities out of sloth, laziness, or carelessness, it is a misdeed not associated from afflictions. Okay, so does this mean that every time somebody has a good quality that you have to sit and point it out? No, it doesn't mean that, okay. But what would be an example of somebody having some good quality? Here they're talking about Dharma qualities, extensive knowledge and faith. They're not talking about, you can play the banjo well. but even if it is playing the banjo well, what could be some examples of why you wouldn't praise that person? Jealousy would be a big one, wouldn't it?
Pride.
Yeah, and pride. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wanting to be best ourselves, not wanting somebody else to be acknowledged, or, like that. There's some very strong ego in there, isn't there? Really, some kind of strong self-centeredness of, I've got to be the best. And if I praise somebody else, then I'm losing out. And, we can't let that happen.
Or maybe you don't want them to know that they're in the right path. You just want to persuade them into thinking that they're in the wrong path.
Okay, so sometimes you really want to mess somebody up, so you don't praise them because that would indicate that they were going on the right path, but maybe out of jealousy or mischievousness or, ill will, you want them to go on the wrong path, so you don't comment about a good deed they're doing. That's really kind of rotten intention, isn't it? Yeah, but people do it, don't they? I mean, this is why it's so important to be attentive to what's going on in our mind, because when we get jealous, we can do awful things. Yeah? Really sabotaging other people. From a subjective point of view, again, there is no misdeed if we are too ill to express our appreciation, or if people are in the middle of a conversation and we are waiting for our turn to speak. So it's like, hold the conversation, I need to praise somebody. Okay, from the viewpoint of the object of our praise, it is better to abstain if the people have no desire for our acclaim and if we know that it would make them feel uncomfortable. So if praising somebody, would make them feel uncomfortable in front of a group, then it's not a transgression not to praise them. Yeah, and especially if they have no desire for it. Okay, although I can see some situations where, I have one Dharma friend who really doesn't like to be praised, but I feel that it's good to praise her in front of other people so that those people notice her good qualities. She doesn't like it, but I really want to point it out to other people that, look at these qualities so that you can copy them. I think sometimes she doesn't like when I do that, though. Okay, in relationship to the content, there's no fault in remaining silent when the qualities in question are fallacious, clearly. Okay, we may abstain from necessity as well by saying nothing if we hope to tame someone, if we want to respect monastic rules or aim to subdue non-Buddhists. Okay, another possibility is that we suspect that praising people would harm them by stimulating their afflictions, and they might become self-satisfied and proud. So if we're concerned that by praising somebody they might get complacent or arrogant or, that it would actually harm their practice, then we shouldn't praise them. Okay. Now, here is all the exceptions. But why should we praise other people? And in what situations should we praise them? Yeah, because sometimes some of us are very resistant to pointing out the good qualities of others.
I think when it will help someone to know that they're going in the right direction.
Okay.
Because we're not always clear.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something where you feel like it's kind of like good feedback for the person.
Okay, so when you feel that the other person really needs the reinforcement that they're going in the right direction, yeah, it's because that really encourages them to keep doing so. Then, of course, it's really good to praise them and point that out, and just to, it doesn't have to be flattery and gushy, but something really of giving a person good feedback. Yeah.
It's good for our own minds.
Yes.
And it's our practice of generosity. And what I've noticed is most of us don't know what our good qualities are, so it does help them if we're genuinely clear about it.
Yeah. So it's definitely as part of our practice to overcome our wish to be number one and acknowledged and in the limelight and everything like that. So to help us subdue our own self-centeredness, to praise others is a good help for our own practice. And then also, like you said, some people really don't know their good qualities. And this kind of relates to what she said, is, you're doing something and you're not quite clear, is this good or not? Or, some people are so much in the habit of criticizing themselves that they really need other people to say, oh, you did this very well. Yeah, because otherwise they just fall into the habit of, oh, I did this, but it wasn't good enough, and da-da-da-da-da, which is so self-defeating. So in order to really encourage somebody and let them know that what they did was beneficial and was well done, it's very good to give them that feedback. Yeah?
Get the praise when I am doing something well, but then a lot of times you get praise, even though sometimes I think I don't know if it's genuine. They're just praising me because they want to please me, and that becomes really confusing then, because you're just getting there's all these layers of feedback. So I just really appreciate when someone gives me honest feedback.
Okay. So something has to do with the way it's given. Yeah, and if the praise is given in a very honest and direct way, you can really accept it. Whereas some people kind of praise and it leaves you feeling confused because you're not sure, well, Are they trying to flatter me, or what's the story? Yeah.
It could also be an expression of appreciation.
Yes. Yes, showing our personal appreciation for what somebody did. So not just that they're good at an activity, but what they did directly benefited us, and expressing that appreciation. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to agree with what Venerable Choni said about it's a good practice of generosity, so it's a good mind training for ourselves, but I also think it's like a good practice of humility.
Mm-hmm.
I think generosity would be sort of the opposite of jealousy. And then we said pride is also a reason we don't praise others, and so I think humility would be the opposite of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know, for me, after the pride and the jealousy, after I've noticed some good quality, I then convince myself that they actually didn't have the good quality. And so then to counteract that, once you finally break through, then praising them is a really good act of humility.
Okay, so when our mind is really resistant to acknowledging somebody's good quality due to our own pride or jealousy, when we finally do acknowledge it to ourselves, then it's good to actually say it out loud too, because that really lessens our arrogance. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This also really reminds me of how important it seems that what we've learned about appreciating someone from NBC,
Mm-hmm.
from really acknowledging, not just saying, "Oh wow, you did a great job," which is kind of vague and easy to blow off.
Yeah.
But to be able to say, when you did this, I felt, because it did this for me.
Yeah.
Then it becomes very personal.
Okay. So the thing of really giving praise in a specific situation. And I think especially in terms of children as well as adults, this is very important, because when somebody says, like to a child, "Oh, you're a really good boy, you're a really good girl," that doesn't give the kid any information. They don't know what it was they did that somebody appreciated. Yeah, and so being specific in our praise, when you helped me with XYZ and we got it done, I really appreciated it because I needed some help. And so to when we offer the praise, to give a specific example of what the person did, so that they can really see the quality and action or the specific deed. Yeah, instead of saying, "Oh, you're just so fantastic." Yeah, because that doesn't really give anybody much good information, does it? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think it's also really important for people to understand that we can benefit each other even as sentient beings stuck in delusions. We don't have to become fully enlightened Buddhas in order to benefit one another. So like today I tried to express to our youth group that I really do value the things that they have to say. It benefits me, and so I think it's really important for them to know that, because that's, I hope, spreads out, that they have confidence in their good qualities, so that when they leave, they can continue to grow those with others.
Yeah. Okay. So expressing our personal appreciation in a specific way can very much encourage others, so that then they act that way again towards others. Yeah. Yeah. And it feels good to express our appreciation, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah, because it really enables us to connect with people. But when we express appreciation, so much of it is involved with our body language and our tone of voice and things like this. When you were talking about insincere appreciation, there's a way of expressing appreciation or praise where we look at the person, and look them in the eyes, and we have a pleasing expression and stuff like that. And then there's ways of praising somebody. When you're a little kid and your parents say thank you to somebody, and you say, "Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Jones. I like dinner." Yeah? So that kind of thing. And you can tell that by the body language and the voice that it's not sincere. So to really pay attention to how we give the praise, because that is a a really critical element in its meaning to the other person. Okay. And how about when you're praised? What do you do then? Oh, yes, thank you. I'm glad somebody noticed. Yeah. Do any of you feel uncomfortable receiving praise? Oh, quite a number of people. Why? Why do you feel uncomfortable?
Squirm. I don't know whether it's squirming.
You squirm.
Yeah.
But why?
I don't know, I haven't thought deeply. It might be something like, what he was saying, like I go to this instant, is it true, not sure, do they want something? I go to some sort of feeling.
Okay. So is it suspicion of others, or is it a feeling that I don't deserve praise?
I think both kind of combined.
You know, if they really knew what I was like, they wouldn't praise me.
Right, right. They
Yeah.
don't, yeah. And then what do they want?
Mm.
So it's kind of both.
Both things. Yeah. So I'm unworthy, and I'm suspicious of their motivation.
I'm unworthy and they're crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. So, you know, if I'm unworthy and somebody praises me, then that person is really out to lunch. Yeah.
I was going to say that sometimes when I get praised by my peers or something, I feel like, you know, I was talking earlier about this being togetherness, and I feel like then there's more pressure on me to be a certain way, or to, like, then I have to kind of guide people or something, and I feel really uncomfortable with that.
Okay, so if somebody praises you, you feel uncomfortable because you feel that then they expect you to do it again, or to be an example for others, or to mentor others. So even somebody gives praise from their heart sincerely, you feel like it's a burden.
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh dear, now they're going to want me to do this again. Oh God. You know? Yeah, I have to live up to it. And how am I ever going to do that again? What kind of pressure is this?
Yeah, well, because I feel like it's always, when I get praised, it's always something more than just myself. It's something about a group like that we did together. It's not always just me.
Okay, so you too feel undeserving when you get praised.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, that should belong to the group.
I feel like, we should say, like, we all did, you know, something like that. I don't know. It's hard.
Yeah, we all did it. Don't give it all to me, because then you're going to expect me to be really good. I don't want people expecting me to be really good. Yeah.
I don't like the attention, so let's focus then on me.
Okay. Why don't you like the attention?
Yeah, because everybody is recognizing the place, and that's, yeah, I'm in the middle of something right now, and respecting myself, I think.
Yeah, but it makes other people happy.
Yeah. Step to go out of my self-centered.
Yeah. I want to be invisible.
Yeah.
But I kind of want people to notice me. I want them to do what
part of the group, and
Yeah.
of course I want.
And I want them to do things my way, because I have some good ideas. I want to organize them. But then they shouldn't say thank you afterwards. Yeah.
I think what Jack said really made me realize something that I never thought about too much before, which is that, especially around like middle school when I was becoming a teen, if someone praised the way I looked, then I really felt like I always had to look that way every day, and when I didn't, I just felt terrible. It was either I looked completely good or I looked completely bad. And So yeah, people praising how you look really, for me, gets me attached to living up to an expectation.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I share all the same feelings with you guys, but to add something different, there's sometimes when someone gives me praise and I feel like I do deserve it, sometimes I feel like I don't want to come off as, really, like, really proud and, arrogant, kind of like that. Yeah, thank you. Finally, so I kind of feel uncomfortable because I don't want to come off like that way.
Yeah. Okay. So it becomes difficult to accept the praise because you don't want other people to think that you're arrogant. Yeah. So again, it feels like a burden. Yeah, it's a burden that people are paying attention to you, or, they might think bad of you if you respond in a certain way.
For me, it's just like a feeling of awkwardness. Like this is somehow something that's closer to both of our hearts. When it's genuine, of course. And it's sort of, there's some discomfort with being that close and that.
Oh, okay.
This is awkward.
Okay. So it indicates some kind of closeness that you may feel uncomfortable with.
I've just realized this other thing from this conversation is when I would get praised as a kid, then my sister would get really jealous. So praise came with someone who was jealous.
Okay.
So I started avoiding it a lot and putting it off.
Okay.
Like for jealousy.
Okay, so sometimes praise does lead to other people being jealous, and that's uncomfortable. We don't want it. Yeah.
That's why I think this attention, because sometimes I have the feeling I haven't done it good enough. And now I don't like it, what you were saying, that I don't deserve it.
Yeah, I don't deserve it. Yeah.
Or it was so easy for me. I don't deserve praise for this because I didn't work hard at it.
Oh, yeah. I should have suffered and worked really hard and then deserve some praise. But this, yeah. Yeah.
I think what I've noticed is that when the praise is given in a very clear way, then I don't feel embarrassed. When it's like, okay, you did that and that fulfilled those requirements, and that was done, well. But then if it's just vague praise, it's embarrassing, and I don't really know what they mean, and then I sort of notice this mind that wants more, but it doesn't feel right.
Okay. What would be an example of praise that's well delivered?
Well, as I was saying, you finished that task in a timely way, and it was done carefully, so I appreciate that.
Okay.
So it's very clear.
Okay. So if somebody's very specific about it, you finished that in a timely way, and it was done very well, thank you, then you can accept it.
And I think that kind of praise can help people continue to grow. It's just sort of glossy words. It's just
you're the best.
Yeah.
You're the most wonderful. And yet we like to hear when people say, oh, you're the best, you're the most wonderful. Yeah. Yeah.
I actually came across an article recently that was about kids who had been praised a lot by their parents, and how that changes their behavior. And they were saying it causes them to be very self-critical, like I was saying, like I need to live up to an expectation, and also really overly critical of others. So yeah, like last time I was here in December, I never heard anyone say to me like, oh, that was your karma ripening. I was like, oh wow, nice job. And when I left, I was like really needing to always live up to that, and I knew I wasn't, so then instead I just turned it into criticizing others a lot, at least in my mind, maybe not verbally, but I think it showed a lot in my behavior.
Okay. So sometimes you're saying that if you get a praise, then it can turn into self-criticism, or it can turn into criticism of others, because as soon as we hear the praise, we start comparing ourselves with others. So we just have this knee-jerk reaction of comparing. Mm-hmm.
And I think it goes along with this sense, and I think it's so pervasive, at least in how I grew up, was just this sense of constantly being watched and judged. Got a little checklist out, and even if when they give you praise, of course it felt good, but it gives this whole pervasive atmosphere of judgment.
Okay, that's,
and I think
yeah.
that's why, because then you start judging everything, because you're saying, well, everyone else is judging everything.
Okay. So when children get too much praise, then they think that everybody is always judging and evaluating them. And then you become really self-conscious, judging and evaluating yourself and other people. So you could overpraise somebody. It's interesting, isn't it? I remember when I first started to teach, and people would come up afterwards and say, "Oh, that was a really good talk," or "it helped me," or whatever, and I would go, "Oh, no, it wasn't. Kind of no, it's just from my teachers. Don't, I couldn't accept the praise." And somebody told me at one point, that feels really uncomfortable if somebody is praising you and you say, "Oh, no, I don't deserve it," then it really makes the other person feel bad. And I had never thought of that before. I had always thought, well, either I don't deserve it, or like you, I don't want to look like I'm arrogant, so I say no. But that it actually has the effect of making the other person feel that they offered you a gift and you rejected it. Like, you're praising me, you must be out of your mind. I don't deserve that. And it really made me stop and think of the harmful effect of, doing that, pushing away the praise when people gave it. So I remember I asked my friend Alex Burson one time, I said, what do you do when people come up after you give a talk and praise you for the talk? He says, "You say thank you." I thought, what a brilliant idea. And when I did that, I just said thank you, and it cured the whole thing. Because I didn't need to live up to anybody's expectations. I didn't need to worry about them thinking that I'm arrogant. I didn't need to, go around feeling undeserving. I didn't need to, push it away in any way. I just acknowledged their gift, and that was it. And it made me realize that all these other things I used to do to somehow push the praise away or do it so that they wouldn't expect stuff of me, that was all coming from not humility, but ego. Yeah. And that sometimes just saying thank you is gracious, and it stops the thing. It stops all this machination in our mind.
Not taking it personally.
Yeah. I mean, it's not going, "Well, thank you." It's thank you, It's recognizing. What I feel when people say about that after I give a talk is they have a virtuous state of mind. And if I say thank you, I am acknowledging their virtuous state of mind. Because that's the whole thing when somebody praises. When somebody praises, they're having, when they're doing the activity of praising, they're having a virtuous mind. And it isn't something that I should get so ego involved in. It was, do I deserve it or not? And can I repeat it or not? It's a thing of rejoicing in their virtuous mind. Yeah? But, you can see so clearly that as soon as we make me the center of something, then we get so tangled up. As soon as we take me out of it and look at what's happening with the other person, it becomes a really nice exchange. Yeah? Wow, somebody feels good. I'm acknowledging they feel good. And they have a virtuous state of mind that's praising. That's great. Yeah? Mm-hmm.
As I read number 44 here again, I realized that it's about not praising. And so we've been talking a lot about how receiving praise makes us feel, and I'm curious, if we then try not to praise others because we're afraid to make them feel the way that we know it makes us feel,
Mm-hmm.
I suppose you can say, like, oh, I don't want to make them uncomfortable or whatever, like you were speaking of before, and how maybe clearing out some of this distortion in how we receive praise could help us begin to praise others a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That you're saying that the more we're able to accept praise gracefully, the more we'll be able to give praise gracefully. Yeah.
Sometimes, like I rather distant, like this, detach myself from, like being praised as well as the person that's praising. Sometimes I didn't want to get too close to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
I was afraid that, like praising too much, that person that praises me is a good gift, right? But then at the same time, I feel that I'm just like being like an idiot, right? The more they praise me, the more I become an idiot. So I rather distance myself from, from people that like to praise or from.
But you see, when we feel like that, oh, the more they praise, I'm really an idiot, we're not acknowledging their gift. And we're not rejoicing at their virtuous mental state. Yeah? So it really is not kind to them. Yeah? We often feel the way you described. But what I'm saying is, if we look at it, it's not an act of kindness towards the person who's praising us. So all of us who feel undeserving, we really have to look at what's going on. Okay, let's meditate for a couple minutes and then we'll dedicate.